Coffee.
I'm out of coffee. Electrolytes.
Do we do a countdown or a count up?
3, 2, 1. Welcome to the first ever Purpose with Purvis show. I'm Jacklyn Purvis, and I'm here with my dad, my mentor, my business partner, Jamie Purvis. We're the father-daughter coaching team and co-founders of the Be Do Have movement. Each week, we're going to be diving into real-life strategies, inspiring stories to help you dream big, find your purpose, and take actionable steps towards living the life you've always wanted. So let's talk, Jamie.
I'm excited for this. I think this is an opportunity for us to just, have a conversation about what we're learning through our clients, what we're going through as business owners. I love what I do, and every day I think I'm blessed by the lessons I learn from other people. And I just want this to be like low key, a conversation, us sharing some ideas, and yeah, I'm happy to be here.
And we got into this too because I think purpose as a whole, like think of how many times we've talked about this, and it's either turning people off, people get lost in it, or completely stuck in it. And then what I've seen happen is you just start to lose your drive and what you want in the first place. And I think that's really what purpose is. It's just your motivation, your something more, figuring out what that is. And that's what we want to start with today with the first episode, really, is how we started to figure out ours. I think the challenges we were running into when we knew we had to lean more into what that something more meant for us. And we both come from really different industries, right? When we started off doing this.
I was in the real estate space, been 22 years old when I started selling real estate. So 1986. So goes back in time. And I was in that industry for a very long time, selling real estate full time, 23 and a half years. And then I think when I look back, it was probably that moment in time when I started to realize I didn't want to keep selling real estate. And this journey of what we talk about, be do have, and your future self. And I made a decision I was going to step into management leadership, and did that for almost 10 years. And then that feeling hit me again, or I lost that loving feeling, as I always say, where I realized I didn't want to keep doing what I was doing. And that led me to working with one of my mentors, doing one of his programs. And that's where we started to work together while you were in marketing, right? You came through that one program that I was facilitating. And I was so passionate about the material because I realized I'd done this my whole life, but really didn't know what I was doing, didn't have the clarity until I started to really examine what I was actually applying for myself, which was this idea of having a dream and then stepping into that in my mind, living as if the dream was already achieved. And I realized that in looking backwards, but in the moment, it was just taking this new information and applying it in my life. And then I took it, was working with our top realtors, teaching them without really sharing what I was teaching and how and why I was teaching it. But I started to see them grow and change, and that ultimately led me to the realization that I needed to leave real estate and pursue a dream. And that's where the formation of the Be Do Have movement in my mind started. Actually, it was back 2016, and going through all that work, and then leaving the industry and leaving my previous life at the end of 2018.
And I got to give a shout out to the OG Bob Proctor, because I think that's a huge connection point that really brought us to working together at that point. And some of the jargon that we hear, like the industry terms, is new identity or growth or purpose, and all these big things that you have to step into. Something you shared there, though, in your story was, how old were you? Because I think this is a big deal when you decided to change your career and make that change. Because when we talk about identity change, like what the hell does that mean in the first place? And it's really just changing who you are. You change careers
Yeah.
late into your current career, right? Like I think a lot of people do that at the beginning, trying to figure it out. And once they're committed over 20 years in anything, it's like, oh, what's the point, you know? So you actually did something about that. So how old were you when you decided to make this big shift?
54 when I left my industry, left the real estate space. Um, was again a manager, and then a realtor before that, active realtor. But I was 54 years old when I turned the page. I walked away. Everything from the outside looked amazing, and it was amazing. Um, but I just had that feeling deep inside that I couldn't keep doing it. not be true to myself. So I think that's ultimately when I made that decision, that I just have to follow this dream and this passion, um, with a lot of faith and belief in myself at the time, because I had never ran a coaching company. I'd been coaching in the real estate space, but not our own independent company. So it was scary as stepping into that, and but I did have faith and belief in myself. So I think that's when I made that decision. But yeah, I was 54. So even thinking about that now, I just turned 60, and that was a big decision to walk away from something that was comfortable, that I knew that now I could easily step back into and do it at a high level. Yet it's not a passion, and I wouldn't have that desire to do it, so it'd be very difficult to even step back into that world actively as a realtor.
And I want to dig in just for a little bit of context because I remember we had dinner the day that you had finally given your to say resignation, right? Like you actually finally stepped into that. And I know that took a lot to do that. So tell me a little bit about that period. How long were you thinking about it before you actually had that conversation? And what did that period feel like?
I started to think about it in 2016. In the fall of 2015 is when the ideas started to flow. I've been in personal growth development for my entire life, taking courses and in helping me become a better leader. And I was in a training program where one of the exercises I was doing, it was creating this life that you want to live 5 years down the road. And imagining what that would be. And that was September 2015. And at the beginning of 2016, I started to create this vision. I was sharing it with everyone in my office, this 2020 life, my 2020 life. And the vision was I'm going to leave what I'm doing in 4 years. So I'd given myself 4 years, and I basically put it out there and broadcast it for people. Over those next 2 years, just every day knowing that I'd made the decision in my head. I think looking back, that was a big part of it, is deciding I was going in this road, traveling this road. Making that decision led me to start thinking and acting as that coach more frequently, because I wasn't always doing that, but I started to now portray myself and put me in this position of I'm a coach and this is what I'm doing. I'm going to coach in 4 years. I'm going to have a coaching company in 4 years. And I started to embody that behavior and that mindset almost the minute I made that decision, the minute I broadcast it to the world through Facebook. I've just started doing it. It's 2020 life. Even thinking about that right now as we're talking about this, it was almost like every time somebody asked me about it, I reaffirmed my goal, which then built belief in me that that was the direction I was going. And then the more belief that was there, I started to, again, embody that behavior and act as if I was the coach and this is what I'm doing. Actually, I achieved the goal 2 years faster than I anticipated.
You gave yourself 4 years. It took 2 years to step into that change.
I think it was a year and a half into that where I knew it was going to be 2 years early.
Yeah, I remember
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. It was March 2018 when I woke up and realized, yeah, I can't do this for 2 more years. I'm gonna move fast forward that and move it to the end of this year.
How did you know? What came up?
I've been very intuitive my latter part of my life, maybe not as much or as aware of it earlier on. Those feelings we have inside, like that gut feeling, often what people say. It's the sensation inside, and I know everyone has this. You just know when something's right, and you know when something doesn't feel good, right? It's just that feeling, and it started as a nudge, like maybe you should do this earlier. Like you just start thinking that, right? And then I was working out on the treadmill one day and I'm listening to a program I was taking, and it's literally like a flash. Like it was like, what are you waiting for? And again, kudos to Bob Proctor, because Bob always used to say, like, you just have to make a decision. And the minute you make a decision, you can step forward and start to move in the direction of whatever it is you want. And it was that decision, knowing that, okay, I need to move this up. And it was scary because I was stepping from good income to nothing. So then your mind starts to hold you stuck. That's what like, why would you do it? Why don't you stay for another couple of years? You can bank more money, keep doing what you said you're going to do, and don't disappoint anybody, because I told people I was 2020. So automatically now I'm thinking about, oh, what am I going to say to these people? All that starts to go through your head. But I think knowing that's the direction I wanted, that's what I wanted, I just literally didn't have a choice. And I'd done it before. And I think that's something that I had the awareness to understand. When we make these decisions in life and you can reflect back to other times you've made decisions and you've moved forward and realizing like it always works out. I knew the process, and I knew all I had to do was make that committed decision and just step into it. And then eventually the fear went away, and then it just became pure excitement. And then I told my previous company and that I was stepping down in that it was May. So I started thinking about this in March, and then May is when I gave notice that I was going at the end of the year. Then it just jumped into pure excitement. I couldn't wait. So I just honed in on my skills to do the best I could in that last 7, 8 months.
That's funny. You described that as excitement. I remember because I had a different experience, but when I felt finally stepped into making a decision essentially about what I wanted to do next, it was relief for me.
Mm.
It was a really just immediate, like, this is the right call.
Tell me about your experience. Share with everyone what you went through and what led you to this journey and being here today.
It's funny because purpose was always something I thought I had to have a huge, clear plan around when I got into working my entire life. So, stepping out of school, I finally got into the advertising agency. And I always had this like connection, like there had to be a purpose for why I was doing what I was doing. And I really didn't feel connected to that space. At the end of the day, it just wasn't the industry for me. So I started as an account coordinator there, had a promotion to account executive, and I was with one company that had great culture for a while. And then I had joined a program that you were coaching. Now, you did bring me up, I will have to say, even before that, with personal development of some form. Like that wasn't the first time being introduced to it. I think that was my first time like deep diving into it. But you had definitely brought me up with like certain mindset elements, certain components. I always remember you saying like you're destined to be great on every single birthday card. Like there was always this evolution that, you know, you get to create what you want to be and who you want to become. So that mindset was definitely always there. Doing that program though was where I realized like you truly get to design what that looks like in your life, and we don't have to live by other people's rules and principles. And if you're not happy where you are, like we're not a tree. Like we're not grounded, you're not stuck in something. And I felt a lot of guilt around that a little bit because I really wasn't happy where I was. I took a promotion, biggest learning lesson for another agency, but I did do it because of money. That was the decision. It was reaffirming, especially after doing that personal development program and just truly deep diving into who I wanted to become. Being in this space, like the unalignment was very strong, and it started showing up as like panic. The panic was slowly over time. Like I think I remember talking to you after the first shift where it was like why are you there? Like it doesn't make sense. You know, you don't have to stay in something just because you accepted it. You're on day one. It really doesn't matter. So I'd stuck it out for a couple more months. I remember driving downtown Toronto, which is absolute bumper to bumper. You're not moving anywhere. Paying for parking, which is like 2 hours downtown of your shift. And then getting in the parking lot and just, I could feel my hands start shaking. And I'm someone that does have anxiety at moments. I was so triggered by this job that it started with my hands and I knew what was coming. So sitting there holding the wheel, trying to like calm myself down, just like take deep breaths, what you're supposed to do when you feel a panic attack coming on. And I remember like grabbing a lip gloss, putting it on in the rearview mirror, like trying to just ground myself a little bit before going in. So I got to a point where I could get in and sit at the desk. And then I just remember feeling like hives were coming on my neck. And I was just like, your body's telling you, right? Like when we're having these external reactions, especially physically like that, there's something we're not dealing with internally. Like I believe that all the time. It was just a huge moment where I was like, I'm not doing this anymore. Like it didn't seem like anyone else around me was happy either, but I was like, I don't want to participate any longer. And it was a really like dramatic goodbye, I would say. But I just had to get the heck out of Dodge immediately. And that's when I knew like there was something more for me and this wasn't it. And I think if you're, you know, ever at a point in your life feeling that, like, you can make a change. I don't know why we stick in things when it's not serving us any longer.
Did you have anything else lined up when you made that decision to walk away?
No, and that for my personality type is extremely something I would never typically do. So I was just feeling so poorly and how big that poor feeling was that the second I made the decision to leave, I felt immediate relief and I was like, I'll figure it out. I will figure it out. I have other skills. I can use these for other, I can apply somewhere else. Like all of that will work out as it's meant to, but it's not going to happen with me staying in this position.
Hearing your story, yeah, we made decisions to move forward, not having any real idea or clarity of what was going to happen or how it was going to work out. And I think it takes a lot of courage to do that. It takes a lot of courage to just have the faith and belief in yourself, because that obviously had to have been there to a point, but to just say, no, I've had enough and I'm not going to do this anymore. And I think that becomes the first step to that next level, whatever that next step is in life. We get to a point where we have to say, okay, that's the line in the sand. I want more, or I don't want this, or whatever it might be. But it's making those decisions, right? That's the first step.
And then we started working together. And it did start with you coaching me through that program, though.
Was that the first time you ever invested in any program, any course, any personal development program?
From a program perspective, yes. I was always super into like development books for sure. And you had supported me through a few other goal setting programs in my early 20s. So, yes, that was the first one that I invested in myself.
When you made that investment, because you paid for it, and I
Hmm.
was determined that you were going to pay for the program, because I think it's important when we invest ourselves, you're invested. Used your money to be part of that program. So was there any fear or concern, or what was going through your mind at that point?
I hadn't invested in anything. So it made me want to vomit a little bit, like, because you're not tangibly, like when you purchase a bag or something, right? Like you're not picking up a product to hold. So you do feel a little just like that's a lot to put into one thing at once. And I don't necessarily know, like, you might know a rough outcome of what you're hoping to get from it, but it's again not like a physical item that you're purchasing. So it was definitely scary.
Think that's a big thing, because I know a lot of time, even people we talk to on a regular basis struggle with making that personal investment in themselves. I've been and had coaches for years and invested a lot of money into my own personal growth and development, and others have as well when I was in my previous company. And that's what helps my mind grow, is being
Yeah.
around others that are seeing things from a different perspective, different success level in life. And I think that's the first recommendation anybody I would make to anybody is, invest in the number one asset that you have, and that's you. And if you can do that, then you're making that committed decision to have a change in your life, change in your outcome. And it's led me to where I am, and I see it in you as well. And yeah, that journey together, it wasn't planned. That's what I always reflect on this, is I didn't see that. I didn't see it at the time. You were helping me with your marketing background and, doing material, helping me with the website. And, this evolution where I just realized that, okay, we're on this journey together, and it just felt right to have a conversation with you and say, why don't we look at doing this together? And yeah, that's been the other benefit of making that decision when you don't even know what the future looks like. The right people, the right opportunities, everything shows up for you when you know what you want. And just my clarity wasn't even clear on it specifically. It was just I knew I was on this path, and I wanted to have this company and to help and coach people to step into their greatness and follow their dreams.
Talking about purpose in that, right? Like, I think that is what brought us together to do this. It's that we wanted to make a positive change for other people at a super simple baseline, right? And that really comes down to for us is inspiring generations to create a ripple effect of positive change and doing that one person at a time, one dream at a time, one goal at a time, and just impacting the people that we can in our space in a positive way. And though we're a father-daughter team, and that's a whole other element for another episode, that's always what brings us back and centered. And how we make decisions is really coming back to, is this connected to our purpose in the first place? And I think it's really cool that it can be that simple and you can connect what that purpose is in so many elements of who you are. Doesn't always have to be some huge, grand, like gesture that you're stepping into now and what that looks like in your world. It can just be like, what's the intention that you want to have in what you're doing on a day-to-day basis?
I always talk about that crystal clear clarity, right? I don't even know now what life is going to be in 10 years. I like to look at 3 years and start to visualize and get clear on that. And having that clarity allows you to think different. It causes you to think different because you have to grow. And that's really what Be Do Have method is all about. And the whole mindset is to become more before you achieve it. What I mean by that is I go right back to goal setting. Like I wasn't taught be do have, I was taught have do be. So you want to have this goal, great coaches along the way and lots of training. Here's the goal, right? So we set that goal out and then we list out all these things we have to do to achieve the goal. And then when we have the goal or we've achieved it, now we're going to be successful. Now we're going to be happy. I learned over life and time is that it's the complete opposite. And you can compress time and collapse time by thinking different, by becoming more now. And that being and embodying that successful person that you imagine. So applying your imagination and living in that space first, because when that happens, then you start to think different and ultimately do things differently. And then the having is I'm going to have the goal. So it's just an expectation. I'm going to achieve it. It's just, I may not know when.
I want to break that down one more level because something that I've now seen, we've been doing this since 2019. Since then, you see so much in this industry as well, right? From a coaching perspective and just how other people are running their business and from all the amazing people that we've worked with along the way. And what I've really noticed in the industry is there's almost two components to this. So there's one side that's heavily you see in the business coaching space. I'm sure you saw this in real estate, right? Where it's all about what are you doing? What's your strategy? How are you hammering this home? Like go, 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 that constant hamster wheel, right? Like that's almost like the business coaching component that I've seen frequently.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
The other side that I've seen is and I love me some woo woo. It's definitely that woo woo spiritual side, right? Manifest your greatness. And those things are true with the action. So, what we've really wanted to do with Be Do Have movement and what the Be Do Have method is as a whole is it's not one or the other, nor is your career one or the other. It's not just what you're doing at work, it's who you're being as a person. You also want to have a good life by having a good business, right? We don't want to just work and grind and not actually enjoy what we're working for in the first place. So our approach to this has always been the being piece and who are you embodying and who are you acting like? And it doesn't have to be like this big detailed riddle, like right now thinking like, what do you like about yourself and what don't you? Because we can all pick apart things on both those areas. What can I do to change that based on the person that I want to become and based on the things in the future that I want to have? So we've looked at this like, how can we pull out strategy, some of that woo-woo mindset, because that's needed in here too, and really combine both to holistically have, and I don't even want to say balanced life, but full life, where it is that personal growth, where it is that professional development and those specific outcomes, but you're enjoying the journey along the way. Have you noticed that too in the coaching space, I guess?
Oh, 100%. It's the
Yeah.
grind versus the flow, right? And like I would grind and I would outwork anybody. That competitiveness that I have, just to drive and just put in the hours, and that's the grind. That's what I was basically taught. Versus the flow is things can come to you. I don't have to go get them, but I have to be in a very calm, relaxed state to become aware of that. And when you can use your imagination and like literally close your eyes and imagine the goal that you want, whatever that is, it's guaranteed and it's already achieved. So you've got it. You won. Like just putting yourself in that state and then asking, I feel with the goals already achieved. And that's what you're literally doing is you're shifting your thinking, you're shifting that paradigm that's inside of us to that higher level. So we're raising our awareness and our standard internally that the goal's already achieved. So I don't have to go grind to get it. I have it. Now live life as a person that's already achieved that goal. that's something that I don't feel is a common process out there, and people really don't talk about it. And they might think about it early on, but it's easy to slip back to the grind because that's the habit. If we can flip that over though, life happens and it just happens easier, and it will literally show up for you.
That's our goal here too, is to bring more concepts and components in a real life approach, in a real life way without the fluff, and how we're really using this and applying this, and how we've seen such inspiring differences with our members and our programs, and just lives that are changed from simple methods and modalities that they've implemented in their life. So we'll definitely be talking more about this. Leaving with this today too is to think about what your something more is, or just to sit with that word, something more. Like, if I could pick what that looks like, what could it be? And what if the magic did happen? What if I could dream bigger than where I'm at now?
It's a powerful thought process. What if? Like, just what if it was possible? What if I had that? And just start to expand the opportunity and possibilities that it's even there for you. And then what would it be like? I just love that what if statement. It's powerful. Tying I am to that, like I am, whatever comes after that for you helps you get clear on where you are, and then we can shift that awareness to that next level. Excited for this because as I'm talking to you, like the mind just goes and we have so much we want to talk about and share. Looking forward to the opportunity to help you just get to that next level, right? Like, just let's get clear on what you want and just imagine that that's actually possible and you could do it faster than you ever dreamed that it would happen. How cool would that be, right? And that helps us fulfill our mission and our vision for what we want to do.
And that really is empowering people and business owners globally to step into their dreams and follow what they want in the first place. Like, take courageous action. You have one life on this world, and I think we all need to start living it more fully in a way that's bringing us more fulfillment and joy. Thank you for tuning in to the Purpose with Purvis show. We're going to be doing this weekly, so stay tuned for upcoming episodes. Again, it's all things real life strategies and inspiring stories to help you to dream big. If you found value in today's episode, we would love if you could give us a like, share your number one takeaway in the comments. We're going to be reading everything. And don't forget to subscribe so that you can get the latest episodes first.